Welcome to Todd Family Farm. This is going to be a long video. If you don't watch it, that's fine, but this one means a lot to me. It's my folks. So this is Meet Papa and Granny. And this is, you know, a lot of it's my life story, and a lot of it's their life story. And it's how we got to Iowa from North Carolina. So how we got here. If that doesn't interest you, just come back on the next video. That's okay. But you get to see my folks. You get to see Papa and Granny. And they're pretty humble, very modest. And I had to kind of sneak them into even doing this. So if it's your thing and you kind of get to know us a little bit more, you're going to get to know them. Get to see how we did things and why we are who we are. You can watch it. But it's a long one. I don't think Abby's going to edit a lot out. In many ways, I kind of did this for ourselves, for me, for my children. YouTube has always been stuff that we enjoy, and it's who we are, and we can't change, and I hope it doesn't change us. So this is who we are, and I'm certainly not ashamed. There's a lot of people that say after their folks die, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that, wish I would have spent more time. And I've never been somebody to not spend the time with my folks and to not spend the time doing it. So, and they haven't been hard to spend time with. I understand that there's people out there that have folks that were hard to spend. I mean, you'll hear that my mom didn't have a relationship with her own dad. But I have good folks that are easy to spend time with. I have not neglected them. I have not overlooked them. And unfortunately, when death comes, I mean, I know death is going to come. So but fortunately, when death comes, I'm not going to regret stuff because I have tried my best to take care of my parents for a long time. So, but they have accepted it. They tolerate me. And they are really easy to get along with, and you're going to get to see who they are. So again, if this is not your thing, if you don't like long videos, that's okay. Just catch us on the next one, but this is a long one. So. Okay. I can get started. Can it see Lemuel? Yes. So this Meet Papa and Granny. So Granny and Papa, and so when first thing they catch on Granny is Southern accent. Yeah, pretty much. And I guess Papa has it too. And that's just cause you guys kind of mind your own business out here, and you were both born and raised in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
You were where?
I was Sanford, North Carolina.
And you were Yadkin County.
Yadkin County.
And Yadkin County is, where is that located at in North Carolina?
It's 20 miles west of Winston-Salem.
And so Winston-Salem is central?
It's west central. It's not in central North Carolina, it's west
central.
It's west central. It's just in the foothills of the mountains.
So North Carolina goes from the mountains all the way to the coast?
All the way to the coast.
And you had some nice red clay down there.
Yeah, it's all red clay.
Totally different from Sanford. That was sand. Lee County was all sand, and Lee County is like, what, 50 or 60 miles southeast of Raleigh?
Yeah. It was in the coastal plain.
Yeah, coastal. Yeah.
And you were born down there in 1951.
51.
And you were
55.
And your dad was a school teacher.
My dad was one boy of 7 boys, and he came out through finished high school and college right into the Depression. So he had no choice other than go teach school.
And he was the first school teacher in your family?
Well, he was one of 2 or 3 that was in the family, and I don't know who was first.
And then, but was his brothers school teachers, or?
He had He had one or two that taught for a short period of time, but they got out of it. He was the only one that made a career out of teaching school.
And his dad was Cornelius Houston.
Yes.
And then Cornelius's dad was Doss.
Correct.
It was Cornelius, they called him Neely.
Yes.
He was a general store owner.
Yes.
And he was the one that had come out here to Missouri and get mules and go back.
No, mule traders came down there selling mules.
And he'd buy the mules and he'd have them at the general store.
Yeah, to sell them.
So he was a general store, and then his son, he had 7 sons. One was Leslie.
Yes.
So he's Robert Leslie. You're Robert Dale. I'm Robert Adam. And that's Robert Lemuel. So he's the 4th Robert in a row. But Cornelius, they called him Neely, right?
Yeah.
Was he the one that got...
He got kicked in the side with a mule.
Yeah.
And they operated on him outside. And the doctor was intoxicated and messed him up. And he had a colostomy for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Because the doctor messed him up.
Yeah.
Operating on him.
Yeah.
That's what about...
It was in... probably in the 1910s, 20s, early 20s or so.
And so then you were born, and you're the only boy, and then you have your sisters Anita and Ann.
Yes.
Your dad had 1 boy, 1 girl, and you wanted to farm. Well, let's go now to Granny. Catch her up. Tell them how many you are.
I'm one of 11.
1 of 11.
Yeah, I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters.
Yep. And you are second youngest?
I'm the 4th youngest.
4th youngest.
I have 3 younger than me.
And are they all still in North Carolina?
They all live in North Carolina, yeah. Well, I have 1 deceased brother.
And your dad was a little rough, though.
Well, he was a little rough around the edges. He's a laborer. He's a kind of a jack of all trades. What time he wasn't drunk?
Your dad was kind of drunk.
He was an alcoholic.
Yeah. So you kind of had a little bit of a rough upcoming, but you made it.
Yeah, pretty rough. Survived. I'm a survivor.
We all. You didn't start out with a silver spoon by no means.
Oh no.
When you moved a dozen times when you were younger.
Oh, once a year at least.
Yeah.
We moved once a year at least. Daddy would move during the middle of the night so that he wouldn't have to pay the rent.
Yeah, that was kind of a rough lifestyle. That was 60s, 70s.
Yeah, well, 50s and 60s and 70s.
Well, you were born in 55.
Dad died in 69. Daddy died in 1969. So yeah, from the time I was born to 69, that's the way it was.
And then, so you started farming how old? You started wanting when you were about 6.
Yeah.
And so you just decided you were born a farmer, right? Yeah, always been a farmer. And so Lemuel's 7. You started before even how old Lemuel is now. And you started out buying pigs?
Yep.
First, did you own a bottle calf or pigs first?
Oh, about the same time.
About the same time. And you tell us of how you started out with your pigs and your calves. That your dad was a school teacher, so he had a car. Do you remember what kind?
Yeah, 1950 Ford.
A 1950 Ford.
2-door.
2-door, but little
V8 flathead engine in it.
V8. They didn't spare the horsepower in cars back then, did they? Well, and so they had you wanted to farm at 6, so he was going to do the best he could for you.
Yeah.
And you'd go off and you'd buy your calf.
The dairies down there would breed their heifers to Black Angus, so the calves would be small-headed. Well, they sell the calves then because the dairyman really had no use for them for $10. So I could go buy a half Black Angus, half Holstein for $10. Put it in a burlap bag and put it in the back of my dad's car and bring it home.
In the trunk or the back seat?
In the trunk.
In the trunk?
Yeah, in the trunk.
And you carried your calves home in the trunk?
Yeah. And I did pigs that way too. You'd buy an 8-week-old pig for $10. Yeah. So a calf for 10, pig for 10.
Yeah.
And I'd buy 3 pigs, put them in a burlap bag, put them in the back of my dad's car, and take them home.
Wrapped in a burlap sack.
Yeah, I wasn't driving at that time.
Yeah, and your dad would take you home.
Yeah.
You turned loose and you started out raising little pigs, little calves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was your first farming. So that was long, between ages of 6 and 10 or so.
Yeah.
And then what did you move up to?
Well, my dad bought me a 8-in Ford, so I started borrowing some implements if someone would loan me one, and I would. We had about 3 acres of ground around my dad's house, so I was farming that with my 8-in and any implement I could borrow.
That was about 1960.
Oh, that was about 63, 62.
So then you got into dirt farming 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah.
You got an 8-in Ford.
Yeah.
Buy it new?
No.
Bought it used.
$500.
$500.
Yeah.
And you started farming your 3 acres.
Yeah. He had a half-acre tobacco allotment on it, so I could put a half-acre tobacco out.
They had allotments for tobacco
Yeah,
even then. And that was North Carolina in the 60s, so tobacco was a thing.
Yeah, big time.
And it's hard work.
The only way you could do tobacco is to have allotments on
Yeah.
it. That they started out with allotments.
Yeah, it was controlled.
Yeah. The government
was
controlled that, just like they do with
The
subsidies
allotment
on.
stayed with the ground. He couldn't be transferred.
Tobacco rights.
Yeah, tobacco rights.
The right to set by it.
And you had a
was
half acre you done.
Yeah, I had a half acre.
All handwork.
Yes.
It's rough work.
And probably some of the roughest, hardest work there would have been is the tobacco, but it paid decent.
It paid good.
Yeah, it paid good.
You
But it's
didn't
hard work.
you didn't need a lot of money. Just need a strong back.
Oh yeah.
I borrowed equipment and doing it.
Got it done. And you had half acres, so you gas the ground, get it clean, you set your plants, and you go through, of course you weed it. First thing you do, you pull the blossom off the top, right?
Yeah, when it got.
That's by hand.
Yeah.
And then you go through,
Top it.
you top it off, that puts the energy in the leaves, then you go through and you start priming on the bottom.
Yeah.
And how many different times would you go through and pick leaves off?
At least 5.
So you make 5 different priming runs, and you just have to keep going through taking the good leaves off.
As
You
they
did that
ripened
5,
up.
and
turning
they
red.
start at the bottom, go to the top.
Yeah, turning. Yeah.
Bottom leaves were the poorest quality.
Thinnest. They was thinnest.
They were cigarette leaves.
Yeah, they were the thinnest, and they used them for a different purpose.
And then the top leaves would be
Thicker.
cigar leaves.
Yeah.
The bottom leaves was probably used more for snuff, chewing tobacco and stuff.
And then cigarettes, and then you had your
then the better grade you got like
pipe
cigarettes,
weed,
pipe.
and then all the way up to tobacco was the top leaves.
Yeah.
But very labor intensive. You had that, and then you did some corn and beans, or
Well, we didn't raise beans down there then.
no beans,
Beans hadn't even been thought of.
just corn.
Beans didn't get thought of anywhere, I don't think, until 65 or 67,
Yeah.
in that range.
Yeah.
Beans hit the market.
Where did the beans originate from?
Iowa
don't
State
Iowa State.
populated it. Yeah, that's supposedly it. Iowa State.
There was
soy.
no such thing as soybeans.
So you started corn on the rest of your 2.5 acres, and you had a
Yeah.
half acre of tobacco. That was 12 or 13. And then you did that for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You get into some more livestock then.
Well, I kept accumulating all the bucket calves I could, and getting them up to 600 or 700 pounds, and I get tired of feeding them, and I'd take them into the stock market or for the sale barn and sell them.
And then when did you build your? You started getting into feeder pigs pretty good.
Yeah.
When was that?
Oh, 66, 67, 68, and then
You're getting the older teen years.
yeah,
And you started working hard into the feeder
Yeah.
pigs. And you had started with literally nothing but a school teacher dad.
yeah,
By the time you're 17 or 18, you started to get into the feeder pigs pretty hard. And you cut a deal with Murphy when Murphy was still small.
yeah,
That was after he built his hog. He built
Yeah,
his own hog building.
You built your own hog building. You put a pit in it and you laid concrete block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He built it from the
Yeah,
bottom
we
up.
still got your block trowels you built your first hog house with, and we got them over there on the wall of retirement, up on the lean-to wall. So you built that, and then you would buy your supplements from Murphy if he financed your hogs, or how'd that work?
No, I was pretty much always independent on my feed. I would buy my feed from the feed mill. There's small feed mills.
Yeah.
We had small feed mills then that would grind and mix and deliver. And I would haul my corn down to the feed mill, put it on grain bank, and then they would grind it out in hog feed and bring it back. And then I got through that phase in the late 60s, 69, 70, 71. I got so tired of paying out so much that I put in a bin and put my corn in the bin. And then I had me an electric feed mill that I'd run it out of the bin through my electric feed mill. And then I bagged it for 1 year. I bagged it, put it on the back of my pickup and carried it out and dumped it in a 4-inch auger hopper. And it went up and went out over the feeders. So I was grinding it and bagging it and hauling it and pouring it in. And after a couple of years of that, I got a little tired of that.
I suppose.
And then I bought a used feed truck, bulk truck, and rigged it up where I could run it out of my grinder mixer up into the bulk truck. And then I'd haul it out and run it up in a bin.
So you built your own feed mill and got your own feed truck?
Yeah.
And fed your own, mostly pigs then?
I'd buy pigs and sell cow hogs.
You were kind of out of the bottle calves for a while?
Well,
Yeah, I got
Tired of the bottle
I got
calves?
tired of the bottle calves.
we farrowed hogs
Yeah,
for a while.
We farrowed some and bought some.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had
So
some.
you had sows and
we
then,
had homegrown and bought.
Yeah,
so that's getting in the mid-70s then?
yeah. Mid to later 70s.
Mid to later 70s.
In 79, by 79, I got up and had 1,400 pigs on feed.
Which is good then.
Yeah, I owned all the pigs and bought all the feed. Owned all the feed.
Before you bought your own mill though, you'd run a tab at the feed store until you got the hogs sold, right? They used to let you do that?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you was banking on the feed store a little bit.
Yeah.
And you had, Murphy got real big, and then Murphy eventually sold out to Smithfield, but you were feeding with, or
It
kind
got
of
to the
for
point.
Murphy for a while,
Yeah, it got to the point.
working with him before he was even beginning to get big.
It got to the point that I couldn't get pigs, and then I started looking for an alternative. And Murphy then was buying pigs and raising some pigs, and they was putting them out on contract with growers. I don't remember what I got. I think it was by the pound. I don't remember what it was, but we had local feeder pig sales. We'd have a feeder pig sale every other week, and Murphy would be on the feeder pig sale and buy pigs, and I'd bid against Murphy for a while, and I'd buy pigs, and there was 8 or 10 other people buying pigs, and I'd be on sale with Wendell Murphy. The old man was Holmes Murphy. Then a younger guy was Wendell Murphy. Now I think he's old and out and dead. But even what's left of Murphy's now is the younger generation, and they was bought out by basically Smithfield.
Yeah. But that was before he was even big, and then.
Well,
So
Murphy started out as a feed mill.
Yeah.
They was a big feed mill.
He just like they do now. That he got to provide the feed as long as he could keep you and the pigs.
Yeah.
So he'd let you run tab from the feeder pig all the way to when you fat, and you paid him off after you sold the fat pigs.
It's something like that.
Something like that. And then you did that through the 70s.
Yeah.
And you and Granny got married in 1981.
Yeah.
And so in 1981, and at that point you already had a hog house.
Yeah, I had 2 finishing barns.
Barns.
And I had a farrowing and nursery and a sow gestation building.
Now, before I remember much, you had some cows, right?
Yeah.
You did
I had
cows.
And
this is still North Carolina.
Yeah, this is North Carolina, but it's off of my dad's 3 acres.
Yeah.
My dad bought 80 acres about 2 miles away, and it was bare ground. And that's where I had moved at too, and started working on
Fixing
that.
it up.
Yeah, fixing on
Red clay.
Yeah, it was pretty
You
much
moved your
all-
trailer in.
Yeah.
And you were bachelor padding it.
Yeah, 1985, 75.
And you met Granny and got married. Now, Jill and I, we got married in 2 months. How by the time you met her and got married, how long was that?
You want the marriage date or the dedicated date or the commitment
I don't
date
know.
or what?
Okay, we went out to McDonald's on Sunday night.
Yeah.
She moved in Tuesday.
Tuesday, so it was pretty well done thing. And you've been together, happily married.
40 years plus.
It's not. Is it?
Working on 41.
Yeah, it's gonna be 41. You 40 and a half years right now. Yeah. So I guess it's a family tradition that when it's a go, it's a go.
Well, remember
So-
that, girls. Remember what your dad said.
I already told them that. It's either a no or a no is a no and a go is a go. You get it figured out and move on. And so you were already hard into hogs and cattle, and y'all got married. Then
Well, I had about 10 or 12 stock cows that I had electric fence running around, and basically they kept the place from growing up.
Yeah.
and you had a trailer down there.
Yeah.
So Granny's life was a bit rougher, and you ended up, you got married basically to get out of the house.
Yeah, get away from home. Now, well, a lot of people got married at that time
It was
to
rough
get away
time
from home.
in early North Carolina.
Yeah, it was.
So
it
you
was
did
a,
have-
it was a bad
You
marriage.
had gotten married, and you had two,
Yeah, it was a
and
bad
then you
marriage.
met
yeah.
Dad in 1981, and you got married.
81.
81 and got married.
Yeah.
And then, so you had two, and then my sister Amanda
Yeah.
was 13 months older, or 15 months older. She was born about a year later.
Yeah.
Then I was born in 83.
Yeah.
And then, along somewhere in there, you put up a couple big chicken houses.
We put up a couple big chicken houses in the fall of 84. Over.
So I was born in April of 83, and you put up one chicken house in 84.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving week of 84.
And how much does one chicken house hold?
It hauled up. We had 6,500 hens and 900 roosters. So, is that about what? 65 to 7,000 hens.
Some.
Yeah.
So you
No, we
were a
picked up
breeding
60
barn.
Yeah, breeding barn.
So the places that made eggs for eating had no roosters. But you had roosters because you wanted to fertilize eggs, and they hatched those to go out to the broiler houses, right?
Right.
So you were what they were called.
Our eggs went to the hatchery.
You picked them up by hand.
Yeah.
Roughly 6,500 eggs a day.
Top peak, yeah, 65. You work between 65 and 70.
And you were contracting for Purdue.
Yeah. We basically worked.
So when did you build another one then?
Built it in 85.
It was a little bit bigger, or
Same thing.
same thing? You built it in 85.
Yeah, 85, 86.
So I would have been about 2.
Yeah.
And at the most, you had about 17,000 chickens, counting roosters and hens.
Yeah.
17,000, and then you still had the hogs.
Yeah.
Maybe got rid of the cows. At some point there,
No, we kept them.
kept them till.
They
Yeah,
keep the
we
place
we
cleaned up.
talking eggs. That was 65 to 7,000 eggs per house per day.
Yeah. You're talking 15,000 eggs a day. Yeah, you picked up, and then an egg truck
Every
would
day.
come and get them from you, and they'd take them and incubate them.
Yeah.
Make the chicks, and then send them to somebody else.
They would take them to their
Incubators.
Growers.
broiler houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, broilers.
So Purdue Farms sold eating chickens
Yeah.
at the supermarket.
I think Tyson eventually bought out Purdue.
No.
It's Purdue. Oh yeah, Purdue still.
Yeah.
You still buy Purdue chicken at Walmart.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
sure can.
And
Purdue used to feed their chickens. They said they fed them what kind of yellow petals?
Marigold.
Marigold petals to make them meat yellow.
really,
And it was Purdue Farms chicken.
It was yellow. It was
was a
gold.
yellow
It was
golden color.
yellow.
It was really good chicken.
To me, it was almost kind of a put off color. Because it kind of looked a little bit like the chicken was a little bit on the spoiled side, but it wasn't. It was just the color.
They just wanted to make it rich.
Of course, you roll it in enough flour. You roll it in enough flour and cook it. You know,
there was a
color.
while that Purdue would have a producer meeting, or and you would get the producers, and then they would go and meet in a school gymnasium or something. And then they would sell you chicken. I mean, you could buy a case of Purdue chicken, because Purdue chicken wasn't sold in our area. It was all sold up north. So we would occasionally get to eat some of the chicken.
But you started out with Purdue when they were small.
Yeah, wasn't Purdue out of the Maryland area?
Yeah. That's right.
They had to come down there because you was raising the corn.
No. The reason that the broiler eggs were produced in our area is for some quirk, the eggs hatched so much better in our area. There was about a 40-mile radius there that the hatching percentage was higher. And it's that way to get today. The hatching eggs are a higher percent for the eggs in that area. And that's where they raised a lot of.
So they didn't know why, they just worked, so they done it.
It just works, so they done it.
And so we had two, and you ran them for 3 or 4 years. But you had mentioned earlier you were outside Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
And Winston-Salem was getting bigger.
Yeah.
And a lot of years in the doctors was coming out in the country and building their nice homes next to your chicken houses and hogs. And what did they do?
Complain.
They complained and complained. Turn you into the health department. Flies and smell. And the health department would come out and visit you, and you'd be legal, but you'd have to waste your time patronizing them. You get about tired of it.
Yeah. And then tobacco had died.
Tobacco died, and was dying in the late 80s.
Well, it was dying. It was dying in the early 80s. It just got more dead and more dead.
More dead. It was getting monopolized by certain people.
It was gone to the coastal plains where they could use bulk barns and eliminate the hand labor. Yeah. And they were getting a lot of migrant help down there. It was all done up around us.
So the tobacco industry left you.
Yeah.
And Winston-Salem urban sprawl overtook you.
Yep.
And it was getting old.
Yeah.
But you had always kind of wanted to come to Iowa anyways.
Well, down there farming at one point it was fairly good, but farming never was down there what it was in Iowa, as far as the whole spirit of the thing. But there wasn't really farmers.
Even so, the Todds were in North Carolina since the 1700s.
Yeah.
And the Todds and you're Willard and Southern.
Yeah.
But we go all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And so there's 4 ways that I'm on the Sons of America Revolution. There's 4 ways I got in on that. So both of y'all's families go way back. And so you've been in North Carolina for a long time.
Ever since North Carolina was started.
And so people could farm and survive, so everybody was kind of farming.
Yeah.
And everybody would be kind of considered farmers. Yeah. Then the farming kind of dissipated, so your dad became a school teacher.
Yeah.
You wanted to farm serious.
Yeah.
And then farming kind of left you.
Yeah.
And so what was the options?
Get out of town.
Get out of there. Get somewhere.
You could have got a town job.
Yeah, what would I have done?
Yeah. But you was a farmer, always has been.
Yeah.
So, long about, was it 89 you come out here pheasant hunting? Yeah. But you ain't a hunter, are you?
He wasn't hunting pheasants. He wasn't hunting pheasants. That wasn't an excuse to come out here.
At that point in time, after you spend 6 to 9 months picking up eggs, there 7 days a week, walking out in Iowa in the big fields and fresh air looks good.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So you come out here, first year was 89. Yeah. And you just knew nobody. How many people you know out here? None. And we're talking that 89 was right on the end of farm crisis.
Yeah.
And farm crisis hit Iowa way harder than North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because North Carolina really wasn't a farming state.
That wasn't really farming. And the farm crisis didn't hit people that had contract chicken houses. Because actually you wasn't a farmer. You were just basically you're working for Purdue. Yeah. And you built the factory.
Yes.
Basically that it was. You built the factory and you worked for Purdue. So,
but in '89, you bought an old clunky motorhome.
Yeah.
And there's 5 of us youngins.
Yeah.
And you threw us in, and we come out here driving.
Yeah.
And we drove basically. We drove all the way through to here to the middle of Iowa, and basically you drove until the family couldn't stand it no longer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it started raining that day. The day we pulled over to the neighbors, it was raining, and it was getting cold, and we was all tired. We were miserable. And I told Papa, I said, just find somewhere and stop. Just go here. There's a driveway. Pull in there and ask them if you know.
And you got off the interstate, made it about 13 miles or so.
Yeah, well, I was heading. I knew that the fellas from down there that came out hunting, they go to Union, Iowa. Union. And there's people in Union that originated in North Carolina back in the Depression era. And those guys up in Union, some of them came from Gadsden County. And to this day, Union has Tar Heel days up there.
Tar Heel is the nickname of the North Carolina state.
Yeah, Tar Heel
State.
Tar Heels.
So I was heading down.
You didn't quite make it all the way to Union. God had other plans, I reckon. So you pulled. Eventually, all us youngins fussing, and I was about. I would have been 6 in '89, and we was giving you enough of a headache. We got off that interstate.
It to Indiana first day.
Yeah.
Then from rest area there.
KOA.
What?
KOA.
Yeah, we stopped
like
at the
that.
KOAs a lot.
And then we went from Indiana and we made it just across the river on Sunday. And then we came across the river here on Monday morning.
So it was the 3rd day.
Yeah.
We had had enough for 2.5 days. We made you pull off the interstate, then you run up 63 as long as we tolerate.
Down there at the Victor exit. Got over on Highway 6. Because I could follow that on the map. We came off Highway 6 west.
Oh, Highway 6. That's far, and then up 63, and we were just wandering around. Then we got off here, getting a little bit smaller road, and then we come up on Butch Steen. He looked like a friendly place. And Granny had about enough, and she says, turn in there and ask them if we can park in there.
She had a weapon in her hand.
Not literally.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It could have been literally. It could have been literally.
we pulled. We came west on E69.
Yeah.
It's on the map.
Yeah.
We got west, and we pulled it up that road over on I Avenue.
Yeah.
Pulling up. So we pulled up there, and we got on as far as over here at Kerr's Farm.
Yeah.
And it didn't look so good.
Yeah.
We backed in and turned around, went back down 63. It was 69. Went west, and we got over somewhere about my Doyle's, a little farther. So this ain't working. She was getting,
I remember that.
She was getting ready to get out.
Yeah.
So we turned around and we came back. We got over there at Butch Steen's, and he had a paved driveway around the south. She said, pull in there. So I did. Didn't see nobody that morning. The whole morning we saw no one. So we pulled in and went to the door, pounded on.
Oh, I think Butch came out.
No, Butch was gone somewhere doing something. It was Jean. She said, my husband's gone, but he'll be back. He's going to get a load of hay or something. Yeah, I don't think you'd mind. Just park it around there. So that's what we did.
Yeah, Butch was a hay.
He was
contractor.
brokering hay
Yeah,
up
he
there.
brokered hay.
Yeah.
And so he let you pull there, and you got to know Butch.
He let us hook up.
And you
to
went
his
pheasant
house.
hunting that year, and then you took us, piled us in, and took us back to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we kept working the chickens.
Yeah.
We graded eggs.
Yeah.
I was about 6, and I remember even at 6, I remember grading eggs.
Yeah.
Because I'd work 4 and 5 hours with you putting eggs in the grader.
Yeah.
And, 6-year-olds now, they can't play recess for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was grading eggs for 5 hours at a time. Egg after egg, putting it on the grader when I was 6.
We had to grade eggs.
Yeah.
When those pullets started laying, we had to grade eggs for a while because some of the eggs was too small.
Yeah. So we graded eggs. That's where we were talking before the camera died. And we graded eggs, and I can remember grading eggs. You did that through 90, and then you come out here again in 90.
November of 90.
And pull. This time you knew where you were coming.
Yeah.
You had a goal.
Yeah.
And you had a relationship with Butch and Gene. And you pulled in again and went hunting again.
Yeah. He loaned us a car. We had a car at our disposal. We could boogie.
We'd go to town, get one groceries or whatever. He was a really nice guy.
He was a trader. I mean, if he saw somebody, an old guy or older woman or whatever, had a car right here, they'd take $500 for it.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty decent car. He'd give them $500. He'd keep it and drive it around for a couple of weeks, and he'd find somebody to sell it to $800. He'd sell it.
Yeah.
But he had a Chevy. I don't know, it was about a 85.
A lot of them was the color white.
85. Maybe it was a Buick something, the big old honker, and he loaned us that, so we could go to Tama, you know, and get around a little.
Yeah, good.
And
then he helped you get some permission to hunt. You done a little pheasant hunting.
Yeah, done a little pheasant hunting.
Met some of the neighbors around. He brought us down here and introduced us to Dan Sue Anderson.
And we was over there one day, and Jerry Murray come over there. I remember that.
Well, Grace Brand over here had a for sale sign out in front of the house. So when we was running H Avenue by here to Tama, we seen her for sale sign, and we went back and told Butch. He said, "Yeah, she wants it for sale." She said, "I said, well, we might be interested in that." So Butch called up Byron Witt up at Tama, and then Byron Witt was they had a realtor association or whatever. So Byron Witt referred us over to Harlan Dirks and Jake Jacobson. Well, they come down here like a shot out of a gun. We got over and went to talking to Grace, and she wanted $1,200 an acre, which at that point in time, these boys around here had been through the farm crisis. Mm-hmm. They wasn't too interested in $1,200 an acre. Then also, he was right in the middle of corn harvest, and they was all interested in corn harvesting. And she'd already had an offer about $800 an acre, but I thought $1,200 an acre for this beautiful ground was awesome.
That's where we
this
come
is better
from.
ground than you'd ever
From
seen in North Carolina.
From where we come from, this was like the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good. Somebody who wasn't spoiled to it their whole life.
Yeah.
And $1,200 an acre, so you bought it.
Yeah.
So how old were you then?
I was 39.
39.
Well, we told Grace we'd give her some money down and she'd hold it for us until we could get back.
So we gave her $5,000
home.
down. We signed up the papers to come back to 1st of March and close the deal out, and she was going to finance it with a contract for deed. And we paid her 10% interest on it on 10 years, contract for the deed. And so then we came back out here.
So you bought it.
We bought it.
So you went from nothing, or your dad's 3 acres when you were 6, and 100. That's 240 acres when you're 39.
Yeah.
Built up, no help, just built it up.
Well, there wasn't nothing really on this farm when we got out here. Just an old farmhouse.
Ground.
So 240 acres, 1990. And you settled, you closed in 91.
Yeah.
And I come with you.
Yeah.
We drove an old F-150 out here, me and you.
Well, at that time it was 85, and 91 what was 6 years old.
Yeah.
85 150 with a straight 6-cylinder 4-speed.
Yep. Me and you come out here.
And stayed with Butch.
And closed the deal and done all the paperwork, and then we went back. And
sold what we had.
You sold everything out down there, chicken houses, hog houses, what land you had accumulated, and then piled everybody in. Anyway, we got out here in the September of 91.
Of 91.
And you enrolled me in school out here in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And I had an accent so thick they couldn't understand me.
Was it? What?
Yeah, they had no idea what I was talking about. I was
you
way.
would have actually won a spelling bee.
I would have won it.
If they hadn't
I was way ahead of them out here.
Yeah.
I could spell them all under, and I was in 3rd grade, and I beat all the 3rd graders in the spelling bee, all the 4th graders in the spelling bee, and all the 5th graders in the spelling bee. But they couldn't hardly understand me, how I was talking. I was just Southern accent. So you've been out here now 30 years.
It was 30 years this past September.
30 years. And people still pick up your Southern accent.
Yeah.
Because you just stay home and mind your own business.
Try to.
Yeah, and so you don't lose it a lot when you're just around.
You can't lose
keeping
it.
yourself. You can't, because you've been out there for 38 years.
Yeah, you can't lose it.
And you've been out there.
A little
Well,
bit.
he stayed at home more than I did. I worked in the school system for a while. And
So getting to that, when you come out here, it was still a struggle to get it to go because that was a big undertaking.
Yeah.
240 acres.
Yeah, we brought semi-loads of equipment out with us.
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea where I could get equipment out here. I wasn't going to
You
take
come
the
out here,
chance.
so you came out here, you sent some stuff ahead.
Yeah.
Then you threw us. You left the camper, the old motorhome.
Yeah.
It stayed back.
Yeah, I don't.
It probably couldn't have made it again. I don't know.
I don't know.
But then you put us in the back of a pickup with a topper on it.
Yeah.
And like a covered wagon headed west.
Yep.
With no, you really didn't know a whole lot. You knew Butch, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And you had your 240 acres.
Yeah.
And that house on it was pretty dilapidated.
Yeah.
But it kept us alive.
Well,
But
we lived in
barely.
it for 7 years.
You had to live in the old dilapidated house for 7 years.
Grace Brandt was a Bohemian lady, and she knew how to keep a house going. And she put tar paper around the foundations, and she plastered over all the windows, and she done everything right as a Bohemian does to make it in the winter. And
Yeah.
she was living on.
And she kept going, but it was lath and plaster, no insulation.
Yeah, she was ready to get out.
It was built in 4 or 5 different increments over about.
Been added on too many times. And she would just close off most of the house and live in one room during the winter.
Yeah.
But you raised a family of 7, and you had to use the whole house, and it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough, especially paying for the farm and making that go.
Yeah.
So we struggled pretty hard for 7 years.
Well, we didn't know we were struggling.
No, we didn't. I had no idea how poor I was when I was going to school. I knew them other boys, they had sports team jackets and fancy shoes, and I didn't realize how far behind I was.
Well, I wouldn't let you wear them sports jackets. You look like a nerd.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, we just did what it took. But it was sacrifice and it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And then you moved. We just here in Iowa so I was 7 coming up. We've been here 30 years, or 8 and coming up, and been here 30 years, and then you lived in that kind of dilapidated house for 7 years.
Yeah.
But what had happened is when did this other 120 come up?
It come up for sale in 95.
95. We'd only been here 4 years.
Yeah.
But you got this chunk.
Yeah.
It was 120.
Yeah.
So then now you're
1,500.
1,500 an acre. It had gone up 300 an acre in 4 years. Yeah. Because this ain't no better ground really.
No.
Not much anyways. Average. So then you're 360 acres.
Yeah.
So you were 360 acres, but on this, after you got that, Granny decided if you're going to buy this farm, then you can manage to get us somewhere better to live.
Yeah, I was right with her too, because I'd had it.
That old farmhouse.
He didn't fight it much.
No, I wouldn't fight it at all.
So you built this house here that we're sitting in, but this is a plain Jane house. It's nothing fancy, but it's good.
Just a basic
Insulated 6-inch walls and just square, plain house.
Yeah, we never did get a lot of jollies that'll have it, all those hip roofs and what you call them on top to make the house look.
Valleys and dormers.
Princess
So you
windows.
skinned her down and got the economy line house, but you got a good house and got it built, and you've been here since 97, 98.
Well, we started in 98, and spring of 98, moved in it spring of 99.
Okay, took you a year. Then you put on your garage and stuff.
Front porch.
Yeah, front porch. Yeah, and you can add on later to make it look nicer. But you didn't pay for any frivolities
We
then.
built this house for $88,000.
Built a 2-story house with a full basement for $88,000 in 1998. Ford foundation.
That's with central heat and air.
Yeah, with everything. So you got, then I finished growing up here, and then I went back and when I got married, I went back to the farmhouse and I knocked it down and I set me a modular home, a design home, a 2-piece home there. Then I added on after that. And so that got rid of the old farmhouse. And by my count, there's only one of the original buildings still over there. We've had to slowly.
That's that little red garage. That little red.
So when we started here, there's no machine shed, no shop, no nothing. And all of our equipment and all, we started with, we repaired out of a little tiny chicken house, like an 8x10 chicken house.
Brooder
that
house.
was our shop.
Yeah, brooder house.
And
all the equipment was left set out. You know, we didn't.
For 27 years, we done all our repair work out of an old 8x10 garden shed, basically.
Yeah, basically. It was not even a garden shed because you couldn't stand up in it.
We paid our toll. So now, then here 5 years ago, we bought another 240. So we're 600 acres. When you was 6, you never would have guessed. You'd be in Iowa with 600 acres. And we've got the 3 hog houses. That kept me on the farm. And we got 2 houses here. And
we have 2.
We moved into our lean-to. And you started out, did you bring your combine?
Yeah.
What was it?
That's a 510.
510. So I want to say 503, but it's a 510.
We did.
They had a 410 and a 510,
did a lot
right?
of work on that.
410s was.
Yeah.
We did our own work on that massive.
Yeah. It was no massive deal.
Remember when we pulled the, what was it? We pulled a drive shaft out. Was it a drive shaft or something?
We done a lot of stuff work on it. But that 510 was never designed to handle the yields that were here.
Yeah.
It never could do it. I mean, it was outmatched from day one.
It was a 4-row head.
4-row head.
And you quickly had to kind of get something John Deere.
Yeah.
If red worked, it wasn't going to be Massey red.
Right.
But you went from a 510 to a John Deere 6600.
Yeah.
And I remember buying that, but it was pretty wore out when we bought it.
A lot of hours on it.
A lot of hours.
Which was a stupid mistake.
But it got you out of the 510.
You did what you could do at the time.
Yeah, whatever choice you got.
It wasn't a stupid mistake.
Then we went to
the best you could do at the time.
$2.15 corn. What can you do?
It was the best you could do at the time.
Then
making land payments.
Yeah, making land payments, and so the 510, then the 6600, then 6600 we bought a 9400.
Yeah.
And we ran 9450 for a little while.
Yeah, we ran it.
Well, what was the side hill one?
That was the 6600.
6600.
Yeah.
Then the 9450. And now we're 9670. So
come a long way, baby.
Just a little at a time. Keep going. And the Lord's blessing. So.
The 8820.
Have I missed anything?
No.
Have I missed anything?
Lemuel says the 8820.
We did. We had an 8820 with a 9450 for a while. And Lemuel's bound and determined to get that 8820 back.
I'm not. That's when I was younger.
Okay, you went pheasant hunting. You went pheasant hunting in 89 and 90.
He wasn't pheasant hunting.
So, now let me ask, wait, Granny. Now, and after you moved out here, and you got the best pheasant hunting in the area right out your back door.
Yeah.
We ain't got the best deer hunting. We don't have the best turkey hunting. But pheasants is probably we're some of the best. How many times have you been pheasant hunting since you owned it?
Oh, none.
None. So tell the truth. Was you out here pheasant hunting?
Yeah, I was. I was out here to pheasant
No,
hunting.
he wasn't. He was out here farm hunting.
There's something about it when you're down there in North Carolina, the lure to come out and walk in the big area and shoot pheasant.
When we got
I have
into
no
Iowa.
problem with shooting a pheasant. A pheasant doesn't have any feelings. Nobody ever has a pet pheasant. Blast them.
When we first got into Iowa, we didn't even know, none of us knew what a pheasant looked like.
Yeah, I remember that. We came out here.
And Papa would say, the first one that sees a pheasant wins.
We didn't know what we was looking at. You remember, okay, here, I'm going to tell this. You guys come out here pheasant hunting, and Granny was going to get you ready, so you got shotguns.
Yeah.
And Tony was 10 years older. He was 16 or 17.
Yeah.
He was your oldest son there. He was 16 or 17. He was hunting too. And y'all got a Sears catalog, and you got these hunting coveralls, but they were more like snowsuits. They were polyester type plasticky snowsuits. And Tony got a camouflage one, and you got a bright blaze orange one.
Yeah,
Which was good for hunting.
Reversible, yeah.
Reversible. White, and I think it might have been white camo on the inside, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I got a gray one. And then you'd go out and hunt, and it'd get cold some of them mornings. Even then, we'd never seen so much cold. And you make me walk through these ragweed stems. And remember what I called them?
Man-eating weeds.
Man, I said, I'm not going back out there in them man-eating weeds.
There was a lot of CRP here.
Yes.
And a
They
lot
got
of
into
acres
that.
Because they had
They got
all
that
these
big
farmers had
Johnson
enrolled
grass.
their ground in CRP to
keep
try
from
to
losing.
save it because the government was bailing them. Basically, that was a government bailout in the farm crisis. See,
got
they
into
called it
them big-
CRP.
They got into them big water hemp weeds and stuff.
It was the ragweed
Yeah.
stems. Nasty. full of- And so we have fond memories of man-eating weeds. And after you got here, you figured out real quick you better go over to Carhart's.
Yeah.
And we've been at
Nothing like
Carhart's.
going to a farm sale and you standing after them camouflage.
Blaze orange with the black camo
And all
pattern.
them other farmers looking at you. Yeah.
It's great. It's great tourist.
Yeah. So these guys around here,
These are
they
tourists.
thought Dale, with his southern accent and his blaze orange camo coveralls, was going to come in here, hold this ground for him a little bit so they could get their feet under them, and then you was going to go,
Yeah.
and they was going to buy her out.
Right.
You never done it though, did
That
you?
never happened.
You still here.
Yeah.
Still here and going.
And a lot of them folks that thought that they're in the grave.
Some of them were. So, that's about it.
But every year is a blessing, and every year we try to do better.
Yeah.
And no 2 years are the same.
And our 2 years is the same. But when I got here, I had to change up my accent as fast as I could, because you don't say I reckon. That don't happen, and don't say y'all.
You know, y'all's kind of come around where you can say y'all now, but for a while you
Everybody's
could not
saying
say
y'all.
y'all.
Everybody's saying y'all now, and reckon too.
Well, they act dumb doing it.
Yeah, that's the way they act dumb.
The biggest
They act
thing.
dumb because they don't say it correctly. You can tell it's a
Oh, yeah.
fake.
One of the things
And when
that
we were
offended
here,
me,
you worked in the school system a lot.
and one
right?
of the things that offended me the most when I was working in public was people would try to mock my accent and talk like I talk. It sounded stupid.
Yeah, because y'all can't help it except to be that way. And people still pick up on it. I don't hear it in you at all.
Yeah.
But people say they can hear it in me a little bit, and then
Yeah.
people know right away that you have some type. They still think you're coming up, calling from North Carolina
Yeah,
right
they
now.
do.
But
Really,
I don't
really
hear it in you. But you give me somebody else, and I can hear it in them immediately.
Well, he's all times telling right off the bat where he's calling from, because he don't want to be calling here in Iowa for something, and
you'll
people thinking
probably
that he's
never
calling
lose it.
from North Carolina.
Another thing that bothers me, and it is still a struggle today, is I was raised almost 40 years down there where people talk slow, and I hear slow. Now, people out here talk so much faster. They talk faster than I can hear it.
Yeah. But I'm probably one of them.
You
Well,
are
they get
They
the words
talk
get.
faster than I can hear it.
You
Because I can talk to Amos folk, I can hear them talking on the phone, and they're so much slower that I have no problem hearing what they say.
Yeah. It's just,
hear it so
it's
fast.
just the words get jumbled and
It's
you
just
don't
so
understand. It
fast.
just confuses the
Yeah.
words.
And then when I went to church up here at Fellowship that Sunday, I come out here a couple of Sundays and went up there by myself. I went in and Susan Rose was playing the piano. I said, man, she's fast. Never had I heard the piano, the same songs, played that fast.
They're just faster.
Just faster.
Speaking of church, then in 2012 we bought an old church and started a church.
Yeah.
And I've been pastoring that ever since.
Yep.
So, Solid Rock Bible Church. So that's been going for 10 years already.
Yeah.
Time to get behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. It's 9
We're
and a
working
half
the
years.
10th year.
Working the 10th year.
Yeah.
So
And the older you get, the faster time passes.
I don't know. I think time just passes faster. I don't think
Well-
it's because we're getting older. I think it just passes faster.
We've been blessed. We were blessed in North Carolina, and we've been blessed here too. So God's blessed us all the way through our life.
Jill has been. You've been here. Let's see. She loves the camera. So this is the crowd we got going here. We say we've been here 30 years. You've been there half of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So officially half.
15 years.
Yep. So this ain't just our story. This is everything.
This is the Todd story.
So, well, that's about all I know.
Well, you hit the high spots.
That was the high spots.
That's pretty much what
It's just
it
like a
is.
pioneer heading west. A lot of it was. So, is there anything else we forgot, girls? You know the story.
I knew when we come out in that motor home, I knew we better come where we could be self-sufficient. Could not count on
Oh, yeah.
for anything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything, and I didn't know how the community was or anything. I didn't know where you'd go to find food or.
Well, we stepped out. We stepped out on faith. We truly did step out on faith because we didn't know nobody. We didn't know anything about Iowa. We didn't know anybody that lived here. We didn't have no family here.
No, no family here.
What was it?
But I knew Iowa was.
When you got here, okay, we did skip. When you got here, we raised pigs here. Cause even when we got here,
Yeah.
it was still the good old farming, what
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And we had 25 sows out on dirt lot, 25 sows and one, maybe two boars, and we farrowed.
You remember
And
when
then we
had
raised all our own pigs up to fat. And a small farmer could go farrow to finish and go over there, and it was Montfort, and you could sell to Montfort.
Or a
And-
sale barn.
Or the sale barn even.
You
And
remember-
that lasted for about 8 years, and it fizzled out. And in '98, the hog market changed and tanked out.
Well,
But you had bought a modular farrowing house, and we sat it out there. We had that before we had this house, the one you're living in now. That was how we was making a living, and I helped farrow off the dirt lot. We had a heated farrowing house and it had an adjoining nursery, and that's where we raised. I've been loading hogs since I was 8,
Yeah, yeah.
so I
remember
grew
loading
up raising hogs.
Remember loading hogs that time down there? And I went straight at you, and you straddled it enough.
Yeah, that was even in North
And you
Carolina.
the hog went underneath it.
Yes, I
And you
remember
went
that.
right down the hole backwards.
Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the last things that happened in North Carolina. Was we sorting feeder pigs out. It was only maybe 120 or so. Was it? How big was it?
Oh, it was 200 beds.
Was it 200?
Yeah.
And I was in there with you and Tony sorting pigs, and I had my little cutting board, and I was helping, and one come in, and I put my cutting board out like I was supposed to,
Yeah.
and he just lifted that cutting board up out of the way, and he just kept on going right between my legs.
Right between your
Pit
legs.
lifted me up, and I rode him all the way across the pen
Yeah,
backwards.
Yeah.
It's a wonder it didn't hurt you.
I fell off, and I was okay. I know
How
that
far
there was
down did you get
studs
before
coming
you
up
fell?
out of the floor, and I thought, boy, if I had fallen on one of them, it was like rusted off gate something.
It was where they had rebar curved to handle those gang slats.
Yeah, and they
the
had,
chain,
some of them had rusted through, and they
Yeah.
were sticking up like
Yeah.
spikes. And I thought, well, I'm glad I didn't fall on one of them. That
Yeah.
wouldn't have felt good. But I just fell on in a poopy slats,
Yeah.
concrete. And then after that, we done hogs. We've always been hogs. And then, and they had hogs there before we had ever bought it. Everybody was a hog producer.
Yeah.
And then, We done fat cattle quite a bit for a while.
We did.
We fed a lot of fat cattle over there in the late 90s. So, well,
Well, you
that's
can
all.
farm it. You can farm in Iowa if you just halfway want to. You can.
Yeah.
Because there's enough of a heritage here that you can get involved in farming here. But all that died in North Carolina. It
Yeah.
just died. I didn't leave North Carolina. North Carolina left me.
Yeah. Your testament that if you're going to farm, you just start and just keep going.
Yeah.
Persevere. Just keep going.
The implement
You need
dealers
to
left.
have somewhere where you
The
can.
livestock markets left. And pretty soon the feed mills.